Good afternoon, good morning. My name is Chitimbwa Chifunda from WaterAid Zambia. I head the Policy Campaigns and Communications Department. I will be giving you the findings from the research with the recommendations for the donors and the private sector. So firstly, what we are saying is that donors can support governments and civil societies to strengthen accountability frameworks, monitoring and enforcement, and this supports financial sustainability. Donors can also help to enforce due diligence and mandatory reporting on water. We are also urging donors to be accountable themselves. This is an issue that is coming up, but also on the front of political will, we think that donors can influence government priorities. For example, in Zambia, we do have a new government that has been in power for 1 year. And what we have seen is that there is political will to improve budget credibility for social sectors, and we do believe that donors can really play a role to influence governments around issues of political will. Donors can also support governments and civil society to strengthen accountability, supporting governments on wash and water resources management accountability actions, as has been presented by my colleagues, but also supporting civil society, as has been presented by Eunice. Donors can also support good governance and enhancing the democratic space. We all know that citizens' voice and citizens' engagement is critical to enhancing accountability. We do need the beneficiaries or the people that we are serving, the people from whom the services are being provided, to be a part, to have a voice in the issues that are in the WASH issues that we are working on. But also we need to invest in women's participation and ensure that we reach marginalized people and involve marginalized groups as well in the work that we are doing. Next slide, please. Around financial sustainability, we are urging donors to go beyond procedural and financial accountability, but also strengthen basins planning to lead industrial water use, and also supporting budget tracking through the cycle. Budget tracking is an effective tool to improve budget performance, because then we know how much money has been allocated, where is the money going, how much money has been used. But also we are urging donors to invest in technology to ensure water treatment technology and digital monitoring. In the corner there, you can see a picture of inclusive hand washing facilities that we developed during the COVID-19 pandemic. And so there's an array of technology that can be developed that donors can also support. And then in terms of enhancing due diligence, we are urging government donors to support reporting on water, but also supporting or strongly advocating for governments to put in place the polluter pays principle. For example, in Tanzania, the Environmental Management Act of 2004 and Water Resources Management Act of 2009 requires that polluters of water sources should pay to compensate damage caused in water pollution. However, in some cases, it was found that those that are polluting the water in Tanzania are not paying. And as a result, there is quite a bit of pollution of water sources such as Msembezi River, which still persist in Tanzania. In terms of donor accountability, this is a strong point that we'd like to bring. In terms of most of our government's WASH budgets are co-supported by donors. And so we are really calling on donor accountability for donors to release their financing or the commitments that they make. For example, in Zambia, the WASH sector is 80% funded by donors. It's both funded by government, the government of the Republic of Zambia, and various donors. However, when we looked at the budget performance between the year 2020 and 2022, For donors, it was as low as 29%, so they only released on average 29% of what they committed in those 3 years, whereas for government, they released 85%. And even though the government share is much smaller, at least they released most of what they committed. And for donors who had made a much bigger commitment, they'd only released 29%. We do know that there are factors behind why perhaps donors may not be able to release their funding. It could be issues around counterpart funding. It could be issues around accountability, lack of accountability on the parts of government. But we need to also be able to hold these donors accountable for the commitments that they make, because social services depend on the funding that they are able to provide. So there's need, so one of the recommendations we're making is that there's need for accountability mechanisms that will enable both government and civil society organizations to hold donors accountable for their commitments. Thank you, Tim, and that's all from me.